Hello, everyone. Hope you guys can hear me all right. My name is Rahul, and I'm from SAFE. Today, I want to talk about what comes beyond multisig, especially from how we are thinking from this lens of SAFE as a team, as a project, as our vision as well. And so my next 15 minutes, I hope one of the things I can impress you is with some insights, with a shared perspective and a collective information on what comes next. So I was here like exactly probably one year ago. So it's always nice to frame Dappcon as this milestone, a retrospect in some way. So last year in 2025, I spoke about this philosophy that we were leading with at SAFE. We call it cipher price, which is how do you build enterprise scale demand, but built on the foundations and the principles of cypherpunk. So for lack of a better term, we call it cipher price, right? What has changed over the last 1 year is that thinking shift. That philosophy became habits, habits shaped our principles, and the principles shaped our product. So with that, an evolution in our perspective also about how things are changing clearly in the space. So I like to kind of like lead with an insight with a presentation when I have something. I try to do a lot of research, and this is this one insight that I have for myself, but also for everybody. In this AI-driven exploit era, right? We all know, we all see the stuff that's happening. The cost of performing an attack by a threat actor, it's just getting easier, right? It's getting cheaper, it's getting faster, it's getting more efficient. One of the most mind-boggling insights that I had was this insight from Mandiant, a cybersecurity firm by Google, is that they have this metric they follow, which is called mean time to exploit, right? They measure year over year as a trend. How long does it take to actually find an exploit? It's currently at -7 days. So kind of like let that boil let that absorb. So what does that even mean? A -7 days is time to exploit. So from my side, the way I kind of like interpret this is that it takes attackers -7 days to find a vulnerability before you can even patch it, right? So they are ahead of you essentially, and that's the reality. So like one of the things that I constantly actually think about it is what does that mean for me? What does that mean for SAFE? What does that mean for our industry, our users, our customers? And that one insight for me is it sets a really strong perspective overall. But ultimately, I boil this down to this one learning: like weak assumptions are easier to find, and the account setup, your posture on how you set up your assets, your control, your governance, that has to keep up. So, and further translation of this is that, it's very common in our day-to-day use of crypto. You know, we have our wallet, we use a Chrome extension, we use a safe, you use a module, you have a guard, you open a position in DeFi, you monitor it. There are lots of moving parts. You get on a new chain, a new L2. There's a very exciting yield position. You're moving your assets around. You're touching many things. All of these are audited, right? Like we have this best practice, right? Like there's a minimum bar of keeping things audited before letting users touch it, sort of thing. So what I see is this, by nature, our ecosystem is fragmented. It's by design, but also the security of this entire system is fragmented. And what this kind of made me realize is that being audited is just not enough. It's a great starting point, but it's not enough. It's sort of a proof point of assurance of a point in time. It's a point in time assurance. That's how I kind of translate it. Because ultimately, how our users using crypto or Web3 ultimately. It's workflows. It's you have a recurring transaction. You have to do payments. You have to monitor your assets. You have market making. You have treasury workflows, et cetera, right? So these are the workflows, and this workflow kind of mandates you or dictates your behavior in touching many things, and that's the behavior we have today, right? So at Safe, we often think about this as the entire workflow, end to end, right? Where does it start? Where does it end? What is the actual job that a user or a customer is trying to accomplish? So for us, the goal is to kind of really raise the bar, raise the posture of the entire workflow, because you want to have confidence over the entire workflow, not like a checkbox that it follows a compliance or a certification or an audit. It's just not enough. We want the entire workflow secured. So one of the more interesting things of how Safe has changed, actually Safe kind of changed with the industry, right? Like 8 years ago, I remember myself, I had one Safe. One Safe became 2, 2 became 4, 4 became 8. A lot of people have many safes that actually use us. This is something we see recurring on a recurring basis. Teams actually have multiple safes. And that's pretty natural that I think as teams grow, safe accounts become like a system of safes. And this forces us, when we're really designing a composition of safes, that what do we want to express with our safe setup? In my head, I really often think about a safe setup in 3 controls. Ultimately, it's the control that I want to express with my safes. The first one is positive control, right? Which is what do you want to approve? What do you want your system or your safe setup to say yes to? And the second one is negative control, which is what do you want to block? What do you want to restrict? What do you want to constrain at any given point? That's how we do it with guards and rules and permissions in place. And lastly is the delegated control. It's this concept of giving a delegated authority to another entity that can act on your behalf, right? We express that through a system called modules in the Safe architecture. So ultimately, in my opinion, every team, and also us as builders, we ask these 3 questions, like what controls does it need to express? So now going back to the fundamentals, right? The way we kind of like think about this evolution on the safe system, a system of safes, is that every safe should have a pretty clear bounded job, right? Like you have an operating balance, what it holds, what it can do, who is acting on it, and then what rules apply. Those are like the 4 fundamental dimensions that you can kind of like compose. And then ultimately what you want to express this is this entire network or a tree of safes or a system of safes. Ultimately, like you can have a very typical structure is you have a reserve safe, which is for capital preservation, or you have a payment safe, which is a high velocity transacting account, or something that's a bit more like DeFi operations, where you have higher thresholds for security and rules and permissions. So not all safes are the same. And this needs to be reflected in this architecture of how you compose your stuff, right? The controls matter. Controls are not the same in every safe that you actually you set up and you interact. And that's the reality of it. Like we shouldn't treat every safe as the same and give it separate responsibilities. So, and lastly, I talked a little bit about delegation, right? The way we also think about delegation is when you delegate authority for something else to kind of act on your behalf, it needs to be really, really narrow. It needs to be visible. It also needs to be revocable. If you're giving that authority to something else, you need to be able to take it away as well. And that design thinking needs to apply when you set up and when you operate it and when you monitor it, ultimately. So again, so in a world, when we grow further, there will be more accounts, there will be more signers, there will be more chains, and we know this is going to happen, right? How many of us have more than one wallet or one account? It's just something we deal with. Hell, we have more than one bank accounts even, right? So the takeaway that I'm kind of like trying to impress upon here is that you really cannot protect that you cannot see. So how do you protect something that you don't know what's happening? How do you protect something that you don't have control over, perhaps, because you gave that control away? And how do you actually look at this entire system, the entire workflow? How do you see it in one place? And this is the thinking that we're applying. And one of the big things that we're doing, like as of today, is this Workspace, which is like your operating system for all your safes in one place, where you can stitch things together, apply, bring your team together. You have a shared address book, etc. But ultimately, teams are working together, and you are also perhaps a signer across many safes. You are operating safes across companies. That is a completely different workflow than our traditional models in place as well. And this is live today, and that's super exciting for us because it's a pretty big step to kind of have gotten to this stage, mainly because how we also grew as an industry. And something else that's been live for a while is what we call like Safe Shield, is Copilot. So in this AI-driven exploit era, one of the thinking that we have is we need a secure security Copilot that sits right next to your transactions, essentially, that's telling you, is this malicious? Is this safe? You're interacting with this contract for the very first time. You don't know. We have not seen any proof of historical record. It's to kind of give you the confidence to operate your transactions. And there's two parts to this, actually. What we've been doing so far is actually a lot around the off-chain assurance, of off-chain confidence, with getting a bunch of rule sets from across the industry, working with multiple service providers, including our rule engine that's evolving as we speak as well. We call it Safe Shield, and that's a lot of the off-chain policies. And one of the other exciting things that we're doing is the on-chain security guarantee, or security on-chain enforcement of rules. We call it SafeNet. This has been a long time coming. For SafeNet, actually, you should attend the talk tomorrow from Richard, who's the creator of it. I think it's at 11. But one of the things we're doing is that Copilot Safe Shield will actually incorporate SafeNet as part of it. So you have the best of both worlds, which is off-chain guarantees and on-chain enforcement to get a complete picture. And the other very big thing that we've been launching is this security hub that we launched. So when you have a system of safes in one place, Security Hub will essentially give you a perspective into a score. We made it super easy for people to actually know if your setup is actually secure. You know, if you have an outdated contract, if your signers has a private key loss that's been reported, it's been labeled as malicious, you are using a third-party module that we don't recognize, and things like that. Especially when you have a system, an operating system of safes, like some of our users, when they have hundreds of safes, it's very hard to keep up with your entire security posture. Hell, it's even harder for you to delegate that to a security professional to come in and actually review it once a quarter or once a year. So this is live today, and I'm super excited to kind of like get this into the hands of user, because it's one step closer to kind of bringing more protection and more confidence for secure transacting in crypto overall. So based on these as foundations, where we're going next is to kind of complete this full assurance circle, I would say. One of the things we're working on is a lot about on-chain rules, on-chain policies. One of the most requested things that a lot of people have, and I'm sure a lot of people here also probably resonate with, is having a time lock when you transact, right? Like, if I'm doing a 100 million transaction, I can wait, you know. If I'm doing $1 billion transaction, I can wait. The friction is necessary. It doesn't need to be instantaneous. It just needs to work in the deterministic way that we need it to work. not only that, like we want to employ a lot more verification tools, like bring in cosigners to give you more confidence, have your own tooling system to kind of verify actually what you're signing is, that gives you really high confidence. And it's pretty typical into the best practice security workflow. And lastly is this cycle doesn't fully complete if you cannot monitor it, ultimately. You want to monitor because things are happening on our accounts when we sleep, right? That's the reality of it. And you want to have monitoring in place, but it doesn't really stop at monitoring as well, because once you have monitoring in place, you want to be able to employ things that can react to it, right? You want to be able to react. You want to pull a position. If you have a pool that's too toxic, you have a stable coin that's depegging, you want to be able to react. And so basically, the risk posture is not just with your account, but also to your assets, right? And that entire thing is how really we're thinking about a full workflow. So ultimately, when risk changes either on your assets or your account, your system, your operating system, your controls should be designed in a way that they can respond, ultimately. So, and I will leave you with this last take. Right, like I often think about beyond multisig is really what I'm thinking about future of self-custody, and it's not just that account setup and forget. It's actually it needs to go continuous, and to me the future of self-custody is continuous assurance, right? And the way I really think about it is like separating responsibilities. You set up rules, express rules, you verify it, monitor, and then respond to this ever-changing landscape. Ultimately, our mission is quite simple, and I think that resonates with a lot of people. We want to make self-custody easy and secure, not as a compromise of one or the other. And that sometimes it's harder than it sounds, or easier than it sounds for some people. But this is the one thing I want to kind of like express is we're in an era we need to really think about this entire workflow for us. And Safe Labs or Safe is really set up to kind of give that tooling and purpose and mission to kind of give users the confidence ultimately at the end of the day. So with that, I leave you for the next agenda as well then. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Rahul. Does anyone have any question? We have time for one question.
Yeah, thank you very much for the presentation. So I'm also I use Safe very often and have also a lot of safes. So I have one question. So I missed something actually. So all the data we are using in Safe and other wallets, we read from RPCs and so. What are your plans to do all this data, to verify this data, to have trustless data? Because if I have no trustless data, then all the checks might be critical because I cannot trust that this is really correct data.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Maybe the way we think about it is a little fragmented. I have to dissect it a bit. So how do you know that you have trustless data, right? Ultimately, one of the design principles we have when we're building our products is not to make the choice for the user, right? Like we want to employ the user with a choice to kind of like express their needs, especially on the spectrum of trustlessness in the architecture as well. So today, like for example, when very simply put, like the Safe Shield that I spoke about, there are two parts to it. The trust assumptions are quite different. When you use the Safe Shield, which is the off-chain way to kind of like scan and give confidence, you are making a trust assumptions on our infrastructure for sure. But the safe net part is actually the more trustless part. And I think there are, from our lens, we are seeing a lot of trade-offs. When you really go with the deepest trustless assumptions on the stack, there are certain UX fallbacks or UX compromises that you have to make. And we try to always find this balance by actually giving that choice to the user to express, like, hey, this is what we can kind of provide, and you can interact with it. So for RPC data especially, we have our own indexer, for example, and you can run that entire stack self-hosted as well. And a lot of teams do this, and we maintain this quite openly as well. Pretty much all of Safe's code, most of Safe's code, I would say, is open, and a lot of it is open sourced already. So yeah, I hope that answers a bit, but this is how we kind of dissect and think about trust assumptions in the architecture in general.